Every single day, 700 planes thread this needle. One runway, downtown skyscrapers off the wingtip, the U.S. Marine Corps blocking north, the U.S. Navy blocking south, San Diego Bay dead ahead, and behind the airport, the city itself with nowhere to go. San Diego International is the busiest single runway airport in the United States. It just broke its all-time passenger record, 25.3 million people in 2025, and it is permanently, completely, mathematically impossible to expand. Not difficult, not expensive, impossible. The Marines won't move, the Navy won't move, the Bay won't drain, and San Diego's voters twice chose not to build a new airport either. What happens when one of America's most powerful cities gets permanently locked into an airport that can never become what it needs to be? San Diego is the 17th largest metro in the United States, a $331 billion regional economy, biotech, Qualcomm, the U.S. Pacific Fleet, one of America's top tourism destinations. It is served by an airport on 663 acres. O'Hare covers 17,000 acres. Denver covers 33,000. San Diego covers 663, less than 1 square mile, and every inch is already spoken for. By 2035, the airport's own projections say demand will hit 39 million passengers. That is the absolute ceiling of what the new infrastructure can handle. After 2035, the airport authority has no published answer. And the reason this trap exists goes back 97 years, to the man whose name was on this airport before they changed it. In 1927, Charles Lindbergh came to San Diego to supervise construction of his airplane, the Spirit of St. Louis, built at Ryan Airlines less than 2 miles from where the airport would eventually stand. The city was in the middle of a desperate debate where to put an airport. Lindbergh looked at the flat land along the bay, hemmed in by the Marine Corps to the north and the water to the south. That one. Build it there. On August 16, 1928, San Diego Municipal Airport, Lindbergh Field, opened with a 222-aircraft Navy flyover. The man who crossed the Atlantic in 33 hours had just handed San Diego a 97-year problem. The Marines were north, the Navy south, downtown pressing east. The airport had one runway from day one because that was all the land allowed. The city knew immediately it was temporary. The 1967 terminal was explicitly described as a temporary measure until a replacement airport could be found. That year, it served 2.5 million passengers. By 2024, 25 million walked through the same building, 10 times what it was ever designed for. The trap Lindbergh helped build in 1928 is the trap San Diego is still living in today. Before we get to the politics, let's talk about why every pilot who has ever landed here remembers it. The approach to runway 27 at San Diego is one of the most challenging commercial approaches in the United States. The glide path descends at 3.5 degrees, half a degree steeper than a standard ILS approach. That doesn't sound like much. In aviation, it matters enormously. The terrain rising east and downtown high-rises sit inside the space a standard glide slope would need, so the FAA never installed one. There is no ILS on runway 27. Aircraft use an RNAV GPS or localizer approach, precise but with higher minimums in bad weather. Operations then shift to runway 9, which has a full ILS, but westbound departures must fight the terrain on the way out. On a clear day landing on 27, passengers on the left side look directly down at the Cabrillo Bridge at maybe 300 feet. The Spanish colonial towers of Balboa Park slide beneath the wingtip. The parking garage roof rushes past so close that passengers have reached for overhead bins. The bay glitters directly off the end of the runway. Cockpit approach videos from SAN have tens of millions of views on YouTube.
Not because it's dangerous, the FAA has signed off on every element, but because it looks like it absolutely should not be possible. For large wide-bodies, it barely is. The usable landing distance on runway 27, accounting for the displaced threshold, is roughly 7,591 feet. A 747 needs more than that. Those aircraft cannot use SAN. At the departure end of the runway, there is an engineered materials arresting system, a bed of crushable concrete, installed specifically because going wrong on departure here means going into the bay. This approach works, but it works at the absolute edge of what the geometry allows. There is no more edge to find.
Here is where this story gets genuinely strange. San Diego has known for decades this airport cannot serve its future. The airport authority spent $17 million on a 3-year site study. They identified a location, they took it to voters. 62% said no, which is either democracy working perfectly or a city voting to trap itself in a problem it can never escape. Depending on what you believe about what comes next, it might be both. The first serious escape attempt came in 1950. San Diego actually purchased land at what is now Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport to build a replacement. Then the Korean War began. The military needed Miramar's airspace, and the plan died. Through the 1950s, the city floated alternatives: NAS North Island across the bay on Coronado, Mission Bay, Brownfield near the Mexican border. Every option hit the same wall: military airspace conflicts, Navy objections, or physical impossibility. The FAA eventually agreed to expand the existing terminal, and the explicit acknowledgement it was temporary. Nobody said how temporary. In 1994, a non-binding measure asked voters if Miramar Air Station became available, should the airport move there. It passed 52 to 48. For a moment, it looked like momentum. Then, the Marines moved into Miramar in 1997 following BRAC base closures. They invested heavily. The window closed. The airport authority tried one more time. In 2006, after $17 million and 3 years of analysis, Proposition A asked San Diego County voters should officials work to acquire approximately 3,000 of Miramar's 23,000 acres to build a new commercial airport by 2020. 61.83% no, 38.17% yes, a 25-point defeat. The Marines argued losing 3,000 acres would gut their operational capacity. Neighborhoods near Miramar, Tierra Santa, Mira Mesa, Scripps Ranch didn't want commercial jets replacing fighter noise. Defense advocates said Miramar is a national security asset. The argument that won was simple: the military is more important to this community than the airport problem. After 2006, the airport authority made a quiet, institutional decision: stop looking for alternatives. Make Lindbergh work. UCSD political scientist Steve Erie said it plainly: it is unlikely that a major new airport will be built in Southern California again. That was 19 years ago. It is aged perfectly. If San Diego can expand outward, the only direction is up. On September 22, 2025, the new Terminal 1 opened. Phase 1A, 19 gates, approximately 1 million square feet, nearly triple the size of the 1967 original it replaced. 13 security lanes versus the old building's 6. 7 baggage carousels, 90,000 square feet of dining and retail, a 5,200 space parking structure, a new 3-lane entry road designed to remove 45,000 vehicles per day from chronically gridlocked North Harbor Drive. CEO Kimberly Becker called it a truly exceptional year. Final cost? $3.8 billion, up from the $2.6 billion budgeted in 2021. Phase 1B adds 11 more gates on the demolished old T1 site. 3 opened in spring 2026 for Air Canada and WestJet. The remaining 8 complete in late 2027. Terminal 1's final gate count, 30. Combined with Terminal 2's 31 gates, San Diego reaches roughly 50 total gates, a genuinely impressive facility. That solves the problem until approximately 2035. After that, no published plan. And there is one more piece of this picture most people miss entirely. 9 miles south, in Otay Mesa near the Mexican border, a 390-foot enclosed pedestrian bridge connects a U.S. terminal directly to Tijuana International Airport. The Cross-Border Express, the only pedestrian bridge in the world that walks you from the United States into a foreign country's airport. For $20 to $30, a ticketed passenger bypasses SAN entirely and flies 35-plus Mexican destinations on Volaris or Viva Aerobus that SAN doesn't serve nonstop. It is the only piece of real aviation relief San Diego has, and it does nothing for the domestic capacity problem.
Here is the core tension of this story. San Diego's metro area is larger than Denver, larger than Seattle, larger than Phoenix was when it built Sky Harbor into one of the most connected airports in America. The San Diego-Tijuana binational metro is over 5 million people. Denver handles 77 million passengers through 33,000 acres. San Diego handles 25 million through 663 acres with one runway. That gap is not because San Diego matters less, it is because every direction Denver could expand, San Diego cannot. Denver had flat, empty land when the decision was made. San Diego had the Marines, the Navy, the Bay, and a city that had already grown up around an airport that was never supposed to be permanent. Southwest Airlines runs roughly 33% of all SAN flights. Alaska Airlines added 30% more SAN service in April 2025, daily Chicago, Denver, and Phoenix. 17 airlines now serve 87 nonstop destinations: Tokyo, London, Amsterdam, Munich. International traffic grew nearly 8% in 2025. For an airport that physically cannot be a hub, SAN is doing something remarkable, operating like one. By every metric a healthy, growing airport produces, SAN is producing it. And by every metric of physical capacity, the ceiling is 10 years away, and there is nothing beyond it.
Here is the honest verdict. San Diego International is not a failing airport. It hit its all-time passenger record. It opened a $3.8 billion world-class terminal. The approach that looks impossible has worked safely for decades. What San Diego has is a trapped airport performing brilliantly inside the trap. Every inch of land is spoken for. The Marines won't move, the Navy won't move, the Bay won't drain. The voters chose to stay. So SAN does what it has always done, takes the geometry it was given in 1928 and runs it harder than any airport of its size in the country. The question is what happens in 2035 when the new terminal hits its ceiling, and San Diego has to answer a question it has been refusing to answer for 61 years. They still haven't answered it.